I just wanted to do a quick video on how I made the shelves for my garage. So stick with me, I'll talk you through it real quick. So this whole shelving system was made from one 4x8 sheet of plywood, and it was also made with 2x2s found at your local Lowe's, Home Depot, wherever you like to shop. So in order to make the shelves, as you can tell, I have 4 shelves, and so I started off by cutting the 4x8 sheet of plywood in half this direction, and then again here and again here, and this gave me 4 1 foot by 8 foot sections of plywood. I then found how long I wanted it. After I figured out how long I wanted it, I decided that I wanted to put it here in the corner. You don't have to put it in the corner, but if you do, you get the benefits of having studs that go up and down on these walls. And so I knew I didn't need a bracket here because I would just run one of the 2x2s here. But I knew that I wanted a bracket at every other stud. Now studs, of course, are 16 inches. So typically, if you put your tape measure, once you find the first stud, you can measure 16 inches out on either side and find your next studs. But if you get lucky, you can stick your tape measure into the corner here and pull 16, and you got one here, pull 16, you have one right here. That's not always the case, but be worth checking. But anyway, you want to make sure every single one of these brackets is on a stud. But anyway, so after I decided how long it was, I knew how much extra off each piece I had. So I knew that I wanted mine 6 feet long. So that means that I had an extra 2 feet here of extra on each of these shelves. So I cut them so that I had 1 foot by 1 foot pieces of plywood. So at this point I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces that are 1 foot by 1 foot, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces that are 1 foot by 6 foot. And then I came in and cut each of these at a 45. This obviously gave me way more quote-unquote brackets than I needed, but they're plywood, so they're incredibly strong. I wouldn't necessarily suggest doing this with OSB. I would use plywood. 3/8 is relatively strong, relatively cheap. And then I took each of these triangles, and I thought I had a couple extra floating around here. But anyway, so I took each of these triangles. Imagine for me that this is a 1 foot by 1 foot triangle, 1 foot here, 1 foot here, and I put a 2x2 here and a 2x2 here. And this is some of the scrap that I had from these 2x2s. And then I actually put a bead of subfloor adhesive right here. So whenever I put it on there and screwed it on, I knew that it would be really strong. So it gives you the lateral strength of a triangle, and it gives you that nice 90-degree angle. Make sure whenever you're cutting everything that you have pretty decent straight edges, and take your time to pop lines and do a good job. But then I came over here once I had made up all these brackets. Here's the 2x2s I was talking about, and the 2x2s on top. And as you can see, I have support all the way out to the end of the shelf, so I'm not worried about this shelf tipping forward and falling off the brackets. But I went every other stud on this one because I knew I wasn't going to put anything really heavy on it. This was mostly just to get clutter off of my floor. And I screwed them to the wall 3 times on each of them. 1, 2, 3. And that gave me some strong support. One trick that I like is, I'm not sure if you can see this, but there's a piece of tape right here. And before I started, I put a piece of tape all the way to the ceiling practically, and all the way to where the footing stem wall is. You can see the tape there of where that stud is. That way, whenever I got to this point, it was real easy to just screw them to the wall and know that I'm going to hit a stud every single time. Whenever you're looking at it, think about what do I want to put underneath of these shelves. So I have my air compressor. I wanted it to be tall enough for my air compressor to clear. I also have a runout table for my chop saw, which is right there. So I wanted to make sure that if I had a piece that was longer than my table, you know, that it wasn't hitting brackets. This bottom shelf is actually taller than the other three, taller this way, and that's because I wanted to be able to put a 5-gallon bucket on this bottom shelf. 5-gallon buckets are just a little wider than 12 inches. I think they're 15 or 16 inches, so it does hang over a little bit, but it gives you, you know, a nice easy storage solution. But anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm pretty responsive typically. Sorry for the poor video quality. My phone's not the greatest, but more than happy to help you out.